Welcome to episode number 10 of the StrongFirst podcast. This is the official podcast of StrongFirst, the School of Strength. For more information, please visit strongfirst.com. I'm Craig Marker. Welcome to the show. In this episode, our guest is Pavel Macek. Pavel is a senior StrongFirst instructor based out of Czechia. Pavel is a true Renaissance man. He not only trains high-level MMA fighters, but he's a historian of strength culture. His website, Simplex Strong, I don't know how many times I've gone to this. It's an outstanding resource for old-time strongman videos, pictures, training programs. Pavel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for my introduction. Nice to be here. What an honor.
It's an honor to have you on here. I don't know how many times I've seen social media posts or different things from you on Simplex Strong, and I'm amazed at how you get all those pictures and videos from the old-time strongmen. But you're the resource I go to for that. So how did you start with that?
Long story. I've been into martial arts for a long time, in the traditional martial arts, self-defense, as well as mixed martial arts. And I always liked the old times, how the old timers trained in China or in Japan. And when I got involved into the kettlebells, I trained with similar tools in San Francisco. Later saw it in China, very similar tools. I found Pavel's first book on kettlebells, and I saw the numerous references to the old-time strongmen such as Eugene Sandow or Sigmund Klein or Thomas Inch and many other gentlemen, and I got hooked up immediately because I really did enjoy their message of health and strength, and started to look for articles and photos and books and old manuals, and eventually I started to collect them. And I would say that right now I have pretty good collections of all these very valuable resources from the pre-war era mainly.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, you've gotten me to create a library. It's not all the books have been read, but I love those books. And every time I see something you put out there, I go out and buy the book almost. So you're building my library as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Nice to hear that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. Like I've seen you even, and we'll get into some of your training protocols and things, but I see you doing it. Is it called the hack squat, or is it where did you originally find that, or who originated that?
Originally, where I find it is, of course, Pavel's work. He has written many articles, of course, many books, and I'm taking notes from all of his resources that he was so kind to provide for us, as well as forum posts. And he has mentioned hack squat in Beyond Bodybuilding, if I'm correct. So I started to do some more research. I wanted to provide for our SFGs step-by-step from zero to hero blueprint, how to develop the hack squat. So I find the original source, the gentleman who came up with this exercise probably was George Hackenschmidt. He was a Russian wrestler and strongman. He trained with barbells, he trained with kettlebells and with dumbbells. And although probably the exercise is not called after him, there is some linguistic German reference to the old German. It's today called hack squat. And we still honor the legacy of the Russian lion. So the original gentleman who came up with it was a famous strongman wrestler, George Hackenschmidt.
Okay, excellent. And just for our listeners,
I wrote an article. I wrote an article about hack squat and step-by-step procedure, how to get the hack squat. So you can find it on our StrongFirst website, and we will come to it probably later. But it is a part of a new program that I'm developing for StrongFirst. But let's save it for later.
Okay, excellent. And yeah, and what yeah, and you just started talking about it too. This is not the hack squat we see, it's not like the hack squat machine we see in gyms. This is something very unique. Do you mind describing the movement?
Yes, it's basically squatting with your heels touching in the top position, and then you open up your knees to the side and descend to a bottom position of the squat on your toes. So the knees go well over the toes. You maintain straight position, perpendicular position of your torso to the ground, and you hold the weight. It may be a kettlebell, maybe a dumbbell or a barbell behind your back. So it's basically up and down squat on your toes with the heels close together, with maintaining the perpendicular position of your torso. And it's pretty difficult, even with a light weight. So if any of the gentlemen listening can do, numerous sets of 5 with a 32 kilo kettlebell, it's already respectable feat of strength, I would say.
Excellent, excellent. And you mentioned the knees go over the toes. Isn't that breaking a law or something?
Depends what laws, right? The thing that I like about the old time strongman era, that it was like real world strength. They were all round athletes. They were not only lifting dumbbells and kettlebells and barbells, but they were also wrestlers, boxers, hand balancers, so all round athletes. And as we know, in let's say in a combat sport or in any type of contact sport, let's say rugby or even soccer, right? You get into all these weird different kinds of position that you will never replicate in a gym setting, let's say in the modern gym setting, like a regular fitness center. And they knew it. They got strong not only in the correct, safe positions, right? But also in all the other angles. So my knees never felt better, and I actually I injured my knee last year. Different story, not during the hex squats. I use the hex squats to rehab my knee. So step by step, and in like 2 or 3 months, I was already, after MCL tear, I was already going through the Rocky Mountains with no problem. So
excellent.
Depends
Excellent.
what laws are you asking?
Yes. And when you do the movement, I mean, it looks like, you look comfortable in the movement. And I think sometimes when we see people doing things where their knees go over their toes, it's just, there's something about it that makes people cringe. And when you're doing this hack squat, it's really a thing of beauty that it looks like something very comfortable. So
I would say, because I would say it's maybe not the exercise is not for everybody, or maybe not today, maybe in the future. So what I suggest is to learn the regular squat. Let's say we can start with the assisted squat, holding onto something, and the weight is goes to the heels. You keep your feet on the ground, and you first work on your body weight assisted squat. Then the next logical progression would be goblet squat, like from our program minimum, from the simple and sinister, where you actually have weight and you load the movement. Then next progression would be get stronger. So if you can do comfortably goblet squats with relatively heavy weight, and heaviest relative. I'm currently doing goblet squats with 40 to 56 kilo, and that's pretty intensive, but I can bang sets of 5 with no problem. Then you work on the hex squat patterning again. First, no weight, just with the assistance or facing the wall, and then you add a light kettlebell, and you just continue to get strong without injuring yourself. So especially in the case of these exercises, some gentlemen or ladies' knees already may have some high mileage. So I would suggest to proceed very slowly.
That's excellent progression. Excellent progression. You mentioned, the old time strongmen, the gyms that they trained in, and we looked very different than what we have today. And I love seeing the pictures. We try to model our gym after something an old time strongman would like. With the rings, and it looks like a gymnastics facility. Or do you see anything that is missing from our current gyms that you see in those old gyms that could be useful for people?
Correct. I wouldn't say there is much things missing. I would say that there is too much garbage inside the gyms. So
Okay.
I have a rule for our gym. If I get a new equipment, some of the old equipment has to go. So our gyms are very minimalistic. Basically, it's just clear area with a good floor. Then we have kettlebells from 4 kilo to 92 kilos. Then we have pull-up bars, barbells, racks, dumbbells, foam roller, and that's it. Nothing else.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds very minimalistic. I like it.
If you walk into today's regular fitness center, I mean, there are all these machines and fancy, shiny stuff. And honestly, I don't know what to do with these machines. I need to watch somebody. Okay, he will sit there and do this and that, and I'm not really sure that this is the way I want to develop my strength or movement or muscles. I think there are much better ways how to do it, and that's what we exactly do in StrongFirst.
Awesome. You mentioned dumbbells. That's kind of unique. Are you using those for curls or something else?
You mean Monday is biceps day, right?
Yes.
Curl is not a bad exercise, but I would still say that there are much better exercises that you can do with the dumbbells. And I have a long story with dumbbells. I got as a present dumbbells years ago from one of my friends and trained with them the regular stuff, like seated presses and dumbbell curls or whatnot. Then I got involved with the kettlebells, and I thought that, hey, I can do everything much better with the kettlebells, and I actually sold my dumbbell set, right? But then I started traveling, teaching for StrongFirst, and whenever I visited some of the foreign cities or during my holiday as well, let's say in a hotel gym, I couldn't find kettlebells. Sometimes even not a pull-up bar or barbell rack, right? But the dumbbells were everywhere. So I thought to myself, okay, let's do some kettlebell style of lifting, but with the dumbbells. So I did some presses, some bench presses, tried to do some snatches, but then I thought everything that's worth doing, it's worth doing properly. So I remembered from my notes and from my collection that actually the old timers, they used the dumbbells quite a lot. I just didn't pay attention to the way how they use them. So I started to research the way that the old time strongmen trained with the dumbbells and started to do things right, because we can see that obviously some exercises will be pretty similar, such as clean and press. Some exercises would be quite different. Let's say the dumbbell swing is very different from a kettlebell swing, or let's say dumbbell snatch. And currently, I'm working on what could be called a hardstyle dumbbell lifting program. And I have to say that I really love the dumbbell work. I still prefer kettlebell. I think this seriously, it's a really go-to tool for anybody to start with, and you will learn a lot of stuff much easier with kettlebell, but then as a specialized variety or when traveling, dumbbell is an excellent tool. And some drills you can learn much easier with a dumbbell. Just give to a regular guy a dumbbell and kettlebell and show him clean and press and ask him to do it. And I'm 100% sure he will do much better with the dumbbell.
Excellent. Yeah.
So,
and
yep.
Yeah, and just for a resource for the listeners, that your website, simplexstrong.com, there you've got a whole series of articles on, doing these great movements with the dumbbell, and you've got a lot of great pictures from the old timers showing how to do it. So it's a great resource for that. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like you see, some of the movements, it just changes where the weight is, and it's good to kind of have that specialized variety at times. To even Turkish get-up feels very comfortable with a kettlebell, but to have a dumbbell or even a barbell to use every once in a while, it just changes the weight distribution and modifies your movement.
It will help us as a specialized variety to develop our resiliency and our anti-fragility as well, because the center of gravity changes. You have to control weight in another way. Some of the ballistic drills with the dumbbell, such as the original dumbbell swing or dumbbell snatch, are pretty close to the Olympic lifts in some way, but they are still for a regular guy. So this is one of my projects I'm working on really hard. We can call it hard style dumbbell lifting. It's applying the principles that I learned from Pavel, all the other instructors from StrongFirst, but applying them to the old time dumbbell lifting and trying to bring it for the regular population today. So you don't have to have a mustache and leopard trunks and gladiator sandals, right?
Yes.
You don't have to. It's optional.
I love it. I would like to see you with that old time strongman mustache. I think that would be great. But
there are pictures of me like that, because there is this worldwide event called November. It's about men's health and prevention of cancer, and you grow a mustache for 1 month and you post pictures of yourself with a mustache, and it's fun, right? But please, listeners, don't Google the images of myself with the mustache.
I think I kind of remember it now. I think I've seen you with it, but yeah, I think you should let it continue throughout the year. So I think that would be great. I can't really wait any longer. You've already mentioned it a few times, but can you talk a little bit about the Resilient Workshop and the StrongFirst Resilient Workshop you're creating?
So it's a secret for now. It's classified, but I think we can give some more information to the listeners, right?
Yes.
Okay, where to start? Again, I'm just a student of strength. I pay good attention and I take lots of notes. And I've been reading Pavel's books and articles many times, get a lot of notes, and he presented some of the concepts and exercises that we don't do as a main part of our program for a reason. And I thought to myself, it would be a shame if these exercises would get lost. Exercises such as the hex squat we just talked before. So I started to compile many notes, develop progression, step-by-step progression for the various lifts, and started to practice these exercises on my variety days, or that's one option, or as a so-called finisher. Instead of 100 burpees, I did some hex squats, I did some Jefferson curls, I did some bridging exercises, and so on and so on. I started to teach these exercises to my students as a kind of weighted mobility to develop, to maintain their health, their joint mobility and flexibility, and also to be strong in all these various positions. We talked about this with Pavel on a few occasions, and he told me, interesting, keep working on that project and we'll see where it goes. Then last year I got an email from Pavel and he asked me, so how's your project going on? I said, oh, okay, I'm gonna compile what I got. I already had a torso of manual and send it to Pavel, send it to Brett, to Fabio, to you as well. And I was glad that everybody kind of liked it. And Pavel said, please finish up the program. It's not bad. So I finished the program. Now the manual is ready. Pictures are shot, videos are ready, and the workshop is ready to launch starting 2019, early 2019. The first event will be in February in Italy. And I'm very happy that I can at least a little bit contribute to our schools of strength to make my fellow SFGs more resilient. So they can stay healthy, they can move well, they can move strong, and they will maintain their health until a very, very old age, like 120 and plus.
Yeah. And I think, seeing the manual and seeing the things you've done, I can't recommend it enough. I think it would be a great course. The one thing that strikes me, when I watch your videos, the hex squat, like we've talked about before, knees over toes can be quite dangerous. And the Jefferson deadlift, you're putting your spine in flexion. And, these are things that are the laws, you don't do these things. But, one of the things that strikes me is how mindful you are as you're doing these exercises. And you can see those in the videos. And you really have to be building those neural connections to the muscles to work properly and to do these in a non-dangerous way. And I don't know if you can say something about this, but I think it has a lot to do with your martial arts and your meditation background, and that, you do these so carefully. But
yes, I will come back. I'll just first come back to what you said before and come back to the mindfulness. I truly believe in a system and step-by-step progression. Let's say we got a new student coming to our lesson, and if I just show him a kettlebell deadlift, he will, of course, bend his back and maybe squat down and lift it in a very poor form, right? And we don't want to do it. So we first want to teach him the rules, how to do it properly, how to do it safely, without weight or with a really light weight. And then we want him to get stronger. Let's say perfect form, kettlebell deadlift, progression to a kettlebell swing, or maybe to a barbell deadlift from our SFL curriculum. So these are the first steps. First step is get rid out of the pain. Ask a medical professional to deal with it. Second step would be FMS. Are you moving well? Are there some asymmetries or disbalances? We need to take care of them. Next step would be learn a proper form, just like we cover at our SFG1 certification or SFB or SFL, step-by-step technique, correct technique. And then we want to get stronger in the technique. What would be the next step? Next step would be specialized variety. We don't want to do, let's say, conventional deadlift and bench press and back squat for years and years and nothing else, right? We want to have some unilateral work, such as kettlebell lifting. We want to switch to sumo deadlift with a barbell during the off season, and so on and so on. So next step would be variety of the drills. And what we will cover at the StrongFirst Resilient course will be also some useful variation of the common lifts that we are doing, such as some great variations of a get up, SOS get up developed by Mike Perry, senior SFG, our very experienced coach, and so on and so on. What would be the next step? Break some of the rules, but break the rules on purpose. So if I do, let's say, a Jefferson curl, or a hex squat. I break certain rules, but it's not my only option. I'm not doing it because I can't do it any other way. I'm doing it with a specific goal and with a purpose. The weight compared, let's say, to my regular deadlift will be close to nothing. But I'm also working some of the angles, not necessarily increasing the range of motion, but getting stronger in the current range of motion, just in case that, you know, the regular deadlift goes out of the group. Or let's say in the mixed martial arts, I'm going to do a double leg takedown on the opponent and the position is not exactly right. I can't really maintain my spine neutral, and I have to be strong in all various angles. So that would be the step-by-step progression. I didn't forget about the mindfulness, right? But if this answers the first part of your question, Craig.
Yeah, most definitely. Yep. And I think that's the important part too, is we just don't jump in to, you know, teach a brand new person the Jefferson curl.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's
yes,
extremely
exactly.
smart. Yeah. And as a meditation part, you know, I've tried for years to come up with a meditation practice, and I find it difficult to, you know, just sit. But, you know, training, you know, can be very, you know, you can be very mindful of how your muscles are working and how your body is moving. And, you know, I find that that's my meditation practice is, you know, in my movement. And so, like, I think you're a great example of, you know, just seeing you move. I can tell you're very mindful of how your body is moving.
Thank you. I would say these are the years of my martial arts training, and there are also certain levels to it. In, let's say, Chinese martial arts, in so-called Shaolin styles, that they say that there are three treasures of Shaolin Temple, and these are the martial arts, medicine, and meditation. And I like the original story how martial arts were developed in China. Of course, it's a story. It's probably not true, but the message is still very, very useful for us, right? Or the founder, so-called founder of Chinese martial arts, went to China from India to promote meditation, special branch of Buddhism, what later became Zen Buddhism, right? And he tried to teach the monks the meditation. They were already studying Buddhism at that time. And he found out that the monks are very sick and they are not moving well and they are weak. So he said, hey, meditation and enlightenment takes time. You need to be healthy first. You need to move well. So he taught them a certain set of exercises, very similar to our super joints, with some breathing and so on. And later on, these exercises are set to be foundation of future Chinese martial arts. Today,
that's awesome.
we start the other way around, right? If somebody comes to my martial arts school, let's say it's a young guy or lady, they want to learn some self-defense and, you know, weapon fighting or whatnot, right? They don't care much about the meditation, right? And this is supposed to be like so. They are 20 years old. They shall, you know, spar, lift some weights, run, and enjoy life in general, right? But we have a saying in Chinese martial arts that you need to be healthy first. You first need to have a healthy body, and then you can learn how to protect your body. In many schools and training systems, they do what Chinese say, they hurt the body before they are actually healthy, right? So that's where the breathing exercises, various forms of calisthenics and gymnastics, similar to our super joints, have their place. Various types of breathing exercises and stretching and so on, right? And you will find out that it will actually improve your martial arts tremendously. Just like in our FMS, you will move better, you will breathe better, and you have better cardio suddenly, and you are faster, and you are stronger. What
That's
would be
awesome.
the next step? Next step would be the meditation. And just like yourself, I struggled for years with formal meditation. I have a monkey mind, so I'm constantly reading something, writing something, researching, teaching, reading, whatnot. So I struggled with it a lot, but the breathing exercises that we now cover at the Second Wind workshop, the new workshop that Pavel developed for StrongFirst, which is, by the way, awesome. I loved it. Then the breathing exercises are bridge between the pure physical stuff, let's say, combat techniques or lifting weights, to the meditation. And thanks to the influence of my very good friend David Rogers, who is a highly skilled martial artist, both modern martial arts and traditional Chinese martial arts, I started to do some formal sitting meditation. And I could say that I see a huge improvement both in my combat arts and also in the lifting. And I approach any type of training with this type of mindfulness and focus. My teacher, my Chinese martial arts teacher, he used to say, when we are training, it's an art of killing. So you have to be serious. Then the lesson ends and you go for a beer and you have fun, right? You don't want to go out and just look out, with the front face and look for a fight. No, you want to enjoy life. But during the training session, you treat it seriously. I like what Pavel said, that Second Wind, don't try to be heroic, be professional. So might be a combat arts lesson or strength training session. We want to be professional. And with that type of mindfulness, I approach my combat training. I approach my strength training. I approach my breathing exercises that I do every single morning, my joint mobility work, and so on and so on.
Excellent. I want to go back to something you said about, the Chinese said about hurting your body. And, this is a topic that you and I both are big fans of, the anti-fragility. And, it's a lot of what, the research Pavel is working on right now is just how the dose that we need of stress in order to cause adaptation and not too much stress to really harm the body. And we want to, kill off bad mitochondria and, build up good ones. And so you do a lot of things, I think we both are, try a lot with, cold exposure and fasting. Can you talk a little bit about what you do in those areas?
I would mention that you have also a book coming, right, about anti-fragile self. So we are all looking forward to hear more about that from you, Craig. Actually, it's your specialty, also psychology and mindfulness. So I'm really looking forward to learn more about that from you. And I think this is also a reason why we are good friends, because we are interested in the similar topics, right? About resilience and anti-fragility and the stress, the answer is the dose. And of course, the extremes are not very good. If you are always in your comfy chair, that's reference for our chief instructor, Brett Jones. He will know the Pythons, right? So if we are all the time in our comfy chairs and the central heating is on and we have, food 24/7, anything that we want, anytime, and there is not much stress as for movement for our body, we get lazy and we get fragile and we get sick. On the other hand, if we are, let's say, you are in a really cold environment, let's say airplane crash, right? And suddenly it's middle of winter and there is no food and it's very cold, right? Then we fell sick and we suffer and then we may die. In our training, we need to be somewhere in between and not in the middle, but sometimes I think it's good to be a little bit hungry, and people will find out and they will actually survive. Sometimes it's okay to be a little bit cold. Sometimes it's good to be a little bit hot. Right now in Prague, it's very, very hot for a couple of weeks, and people complain that training is hard in this weather. And I send them the research about the development of mitochondria and cross adaptation of strength training in a hot environment or in a cold environment. So the the correct dose is the answer. So we were talking about the StrongFirst Resilient workshop. There is actually an appendix about fasting and about cold exposure, because as the research points out, and I was very glad that Pavel has uh, explained a lot of these topics from his vast experience during the strong endurance workshop and the second wind workshop, that these things go very good together. The right dose of exercise, which is stress, the right dose of cold, the right dose of, let's say, hot environment, right dose of fasting, and right dose of controlling your breath, right? The hypoxic exercises that we did in the second wing. So
Yep.
I have to say that I'm really happy with the way that we are going with StrongFirst, because it's we are following the old ideal of our ancestors of the Iron game, which is health and strength. So it's not only
Awesome.
about athletic performance, but it's also about longevity and having a generally good life. And I'm in.
That's
I love it very much.
I'm in as well. And like you said, these things are, it's not that difficult to get these things. If it's a hot summer,
Mhm.
I try to, when I'm in my car, I don't turn the air conditioner on and I don't open the windows. And it's like, I don't know how
Mhm.
warm it is in the car, but it's probably, 100 degrees, and it's a free sauna for me. And in the wintertime, I can
Mhm.
go without wearing a jacket. And, I tried the whole
Mhm.
winter to not wear a jacket. It's free cold exposure for me. These things are, pretty easy to find, and, it's easy not to eat.
Mhm.
It's makes your day a lot easier if you're not thinking about what to bring
Yes,
to
correct.
for food. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
You
these are
know,
things
the
that,
thing is that
might be tough psychologically. Go ahead.
Mhm. The thing is that it gives us awesome freedom, right? Because then, if you don't have your meal, you don't freak out, and you can be perfectly fine. Then the weather
Mhm.
suddenly turns bad, and it starts raining, and it's cold and windy, and hey, I'm all right. I'm gonna survive, and I'm not going to be sick. I'm used to that, right? So that's one thing that I appreciate about, let's say, fasting, cold exposure, and so on. It gives us freedom. The other thing,
Mhm.
it's extra free training, right? Pavel has explained during his courses that the adaptation is very similar in, let's say, fasting or cold exposure, and correct strength training, just like we do in a strong endurance. And the third thing I would like to emphasize, I used to hate winter, right? Like cold weather, you just stay home, drink your rum and listen to Pink Floyd, and you don't go out, right? But when I started, thanks to David Whitley, got involved into the cold exposure a little bit more. Actually, what it did is that it doubled my life, because right now I really enjoy winter. I really enjoy winter, and I go out. I'm just in my t-shirt. It's very cold outside, and just the feeling of being alive, it's absolutely awesome. So it literally doubled my life. I don't hate half of the year. I love the whole 12. I love the whole 12 months. Doesn't matter if it's hot. Doesn't matter if it's cold.
That's awesome. That's great. I think we could talk all day about these type of things, and I have so many other questions I want to get into on that. But I know we're running at a time, and I just, how do you, okay, so, going back to the old time strongmen and Pavel Satsulin's work, what I like about it is there are all these tests built into it for us. And Earl Lederman wrote a book called Endurance, and he had all these, challenges of swim a half mile, do 25 dips. And I don't remember the other ones exactly, but I love these type of challenges. And I think you did as well. How do you challenge yourself, and what type of things do you test yourself on?
I challenge myself with consistency, I would say. I am very stubborn person. Awesome. And if I do something and I know it's right, I just keep doing it. So that's my daily joint mobility practice, my breathing exercises, my strength training, my reading, my meditation, my work, and so on and so on. On the other hand, I really believe into achieving certain standards, right? And I'm really like the standards that we have at StrongFirst. Let's say for the general population, the simple and sinister standard. I really think that it's worth a goal for anybody, regardless of activity or lack of it, to achieve the simple goals. Because then you can, okay, check. I've done the simple. Nobody is going to ever take it for me. And then, if you find out that you are not strong, but you are not weak anymore, maybe you will continue and work during next months or maybe years to achieving the sinister. Same thing, let's say rite of passage, half body weight military press for gentlemen, 1/3 of body weight for ladies. I think it's a worthy goal because during the preparation, during your regular practice to achieve that goal, you will get so much stronger. So it's not only about the goal, because we all know when you meet it, you will say, oh, this is it, okay. Right? It's the road that leads to the goal, which comes back to the health, strength, moving well, moving strong, and not being sore all the time. Same applies to our standards that we have, let's say, for our instructors at SFG, SFL, SFB. The great thing about signing up for any of our certification is the work that you have to put in before you actually take part. You will learn so much, you will get so much stronger, so much better. And then if you pass with another on the certification or later during the video test, again, that's something that it's achievement. And I think that our certifications are not, like many people think, only for fitness professional, but it's a rite of passage for general population. We talk with my great friend Alexei Senart, senior SFG from StrongFirst France, super nice guy, very strong, and we talk about this topic quite a lot. That what we do is not only for fitness professionals, but it's for anybody who is kind of lacking something in his life. We don't have the rite of passage anymore, right, in our life. And I think this is really worth the goal. It's really worth to take the road of becoming an SFG or SFL or SFB and spend your time practicing correctly under the guidance of a good teacher. Go there, learn some more, pass the tests at the event or later, and then just because you know that it's what it did for you, you will teach others and prepare others to take the same road. So much for challenges, right? I passed luckily and successfully all our requirements for all three main weapons, and it doesn't mean that I'm strong right now. I can probably do most of the requirements like right now, right? It just means that I was really weak years ago. I remember doing my first snatch test with 16 kilo and I was like gassed. And at that time you know that I'm a lightweight, like really lightweight. And I thought to myself, hell, there is no way I'm gonna pass the snatch test with 24. But guess what? I took the time, I was patient, I was working on my technique. I started with a lightweight and I trained for few months, like 9 months, 10 months, and then I passed successfully. I know it's doable. I know that it's not like some superhuman achievement. It's doable for anybody who will have a good coach and will be patient and will take his time to get prepared correctly.
That's excellent. Yep, I completely agree. It's a great rite of passage for people to do it, and you don't have to want to be a coach. And there are many people who just do it for the sake of that challenge. So I completely agree with you, and that's certainly why I did it as well. So that's awesome. We're running short of time. There's so many other topics that I wanted to get to today too, and it's just been an awesome conversation. Do you mind if we do another show someday soon, and we can get to those other topics as well?
Will be my honor if the stuff, if some people will find it interesting. Of course, I would be very grateful. For me, I would never imagine years ago that I would be on a StrongFirst podcast, right? I'm just a regular SFG who likes to do the stuff that we are doing, train and teach and write and do the research. So like the old saying says, if you love what you do, you don't have to work a single day in your life. So we are truly blessed to find our calling, I would say. Craig, what do you think?
I completely agree. It's awesome for me to just, to be able to do this podcast and talk to awesome people like yourself all the time. I mean, I feel like it's a dream come true, like of just doing this stuff that I love.
And generally, the whole community, right? We have Fabio behind the wheel right now, awesome gentleman. I owe him so much. Of course, Pavel, Brett, Amanda, all you guys at HQ. I think there are people that we don't see that often, but they do so much for StrongFirst, and I would like to use this opportunity to thank them very much for everything they do for StrongFirst and for all of us SFGs and SFLs and SFBs.
Wow. I think, and I'll speak for everybody here, but I think we can all say the same for you. You do so much for the community, and in the social media, I think a lot of people gain so much from the articles you write, and that course, the StrongFirst Resilient that you're developing. So we thank you as well. I have two final questions for you. One is going to be kind of a fun question, and then the end, I'll just kind of end with something where you can give some final thoughts. But how many times are you confused with Pavel Satsuin? Being the other Pavel.
I'm very stupid as for math and biochemistry. So whenever Pavel gets into some like heavy duty science, that I'm lost. But then we start to swing kettlebells or press, barbells, and he said, what, do this and this and that and that, and then I'm completely in my game. So I have to say I really like him very much. He's a role model coach, that he is inspiring others, giving chance to others. He is in background, right? He doesn't want to be StrongFirst by Pavel. He wants it to be StrongFirst by like all of you listening, all of us. So biochemistry and math, I'm confused there, but otherwise I think we are on the same wavelength.
Awesome. And the final question is just, your final thoughts, of what, and you've already given so much great advice and things that people can do based on what you're saying, just the simple things to become more resilient. But any final thoughts or advice for people?
Get to strongfirst.com website, register for a forum, just, look around, post your questions. We have a great team that will answer your questions. Buy Simple and Sinister book or ebook. Get 2 or 3 kettlebells, or join a gym, or find a SFG in your area. Start to swing some kettlebells, do your get-ups, and because you will see that it works, you will just take it from there. So that would be my advice.
Awesome. Great advice. And Pavel, it was an honor talking with you. And I, like, as I mentioned, I hope we can do another one of these soon. I'm sure we can have another hour of brand new topics that will, really help people out. So I'm excited to do this again
Craig,
soon.
we have so many great people in our instructors team. So I'm pretty sure that, there are many more knowledgeable and skillful people out there. But if that would be the case, of course, I'm always available.
Well, there's the definition of a quiet professional right there. Your humility is always out in front. So we appreciate it. But yeah, we love hearing from you, and this has been a great talk. So thank you again so much.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks to anybody listening. Have a great day.